God is strong. Remember this, He'll never leave you. He won't forsake you. He's your strength and He's your song. So sing and start to say, I'm climbing my mountain step by step. I'm climbing my mountain day by day. I'm climbing my mountain all the way. I'm climbing my mountain. I'm gonna make it one step at a time. One step at a time. One step at a time with Jesus by my side. One step at a time. One step at a time. I'm climbing my mountain. One step at a time. One step at a time. One step at a time. One step at a time with Jesus by my side. One step at a time. One step at a time. I'm climbing my mountain. One step at a time.
Well, it's good to be here again. Ain't been Sunday school in a while, so it's out of the ordinary, I guess, because whenever you take that month off in July, you get used to the extra hour of not doing anything. So it's good to be back. Anything we need to pray about? Pray for Shelly and Chris. I guess they're on a honeymoon today, so pray for them. Anything else we need to pray about? Pray for Kinsley, my granddaughter. She's not feeling well. She running a fever all weekend, so pray for. Well, she may not be today, but she had been Friday and Saturday, so pray for her then. Anything else we need to pray about? Pray for Brother Mike Bradshaw. I think he's still having treatments. Brother Mike Maltesta, is he still in the hospital? He's at home now. Still pray for him. He's had a lot of trouble. Yep. Okay. Pray for Brother Marlon's request. Anything else? If not, Sister Tasha, you want to lead?
You know, any opportunity that we get to gather together and have like minds and study in your word, God, we count that as blessed, dear God. We ask you, Lord, to please help Brother Preston this morning, God, just anoint his lips, Lord, and let it pour out just exactly how you gave it to him, Lord, and help us not just to be listeners of the word, but doer, dear Lord. You see every request that was brought forth this morning, dear God. We ask you, Lord, to be in each individual's life, dear God. Help us as we prepare for the service today, Lord, and get our minds clear and ready to worship and receive. In Jesus' name, amen.
I got this lesson. Brother Tony and I were texting back and forth. You got the lesson, I got the lesson, whatever. And I didn't have anything till Thursday or Friday one. And all of a sudden, I love it when God just gives it to you quick. It's just, that way I know it's not me thinking, I want to teach this. This was something that God gave me, and I like that way. I was at work, and I actually had to go to the bathroom and sit down and cry a little bit because God was talking to me. Then I had to come out, and there was my boss man standing there, and he probably thought I was crazy, but it is what it is, you know. God was talking, and God was speaking to me, and I love to hear his voice. There ain't nothing like his voice. But anyway, so the lesson, I want to make a disclaimer first. I'm not throwing stones at anybody or any person today, okay? But what I mentioned in for a purpose. So, that being said, if you Google the word Bethel, just the word Bethel, the first thing that pops up is Bethel University. It's a Christian college. I don't know. I've never been there, so I can't put judgment. I've never been there. But it's a Christian college. And it started out in 1871 as a college called the Baptist Union Theological Seminary from 1871 to 1931. Changed the name in 31 to Bethel Junior College till 47. Then it went from Bethel College and Seminary from 47 to 2004, and now it's commonly known as Bethel University. But anyway, the the name from 1931 till now had Bethel in the title. And it's just like I said, it's a Christian college having a wide variety of degrees. It's a place in St. Paul, Minnesota. Never been there, don't know anything about it. The next thing, when you Google Bethel, just the word Bethel, is Bethel Church. Now, there's 5 different ones that have the name Bethel Church, just that Google search brought up. I don't know much about them. That's not the point either. But the name Bethel is in their name. And that's not counting all the small ones like Bethel Baptist and Bethel this and Bethel that. But as far as Google popped up, the second thing comes in is Bethel Church. It's kind of like almost like one of them stadium churches where they have, thousands and thousands of people come, and they have like a big mega church, and they have all the modern style worship, and the hip pastor walking around in jeans and his laptop in his hand and a microphone. You know how those new guys do, the new age type preaching. And I'm not passing judgment on that. I don't know. I've not been there. I don't know anything about him, so I'm not saying that. But I just tell you what this church is like. But he is. It takes the name Bethel, and then they have all kind of outreaches. All the social platforms. I'm not passing. I don't know anything about them. They offer like a worship experience. And I don't believe worship is meant to be experienced. Worship is meant to be given. Worship is not for me. It's for God, from me. And that's not the lesson here. But the lesson was about the name Bethel. There's a place in Lenore called Bethel Colony of Mercy. It's a Christian-based drug rehab program. And they have mixed success. I know people who've gone through the program, seemingly got some help. But it's got the name Bethel on it. It's a faith-based Christian facility, supposedly. Not too far from here is a place called Bethel Road, right down here. I think you work near Bethel Road. I don't know much about that road. If there's a church named Bethel on that, I don't know. But it's named Bethel. So the word Bethel is a common word. And sometimes words have meanings. And sometimes when you hear them so much, they become trivial. They become nonchalant. Oh, it's just Bethel. What does Bethel really mean? It's found in the Bible in 59 verses 66 times. And I'm not going to read all of them because that's a lot of verses. But I want to just show you a few of them. I'm trying to get a point across. Like I said, I'm not here to pass judgment on anything I just mentioned in that Bethel is a common word in today's society. And I wonder, when they say Bethel, do they know what they're saying? If you look in Joshua, and I'm hoping I got the scriptures working for Mark. I put them up there, I hope it's working right. But in Joshua chapter 7, verse 2, and I'm not going to read all the context. I just want to show you something, okay? Joshua 7 and 2 says, And Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethaven on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto him, saying, Go up and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ai. So Bethel was just a point of reference. Just go down to Bethel, take a right. It was nothing special. And then in verse 9 of chapter 8, Joshua 8 and 9, Joshua sent them forth. They went to lie in ambush, and behold, and abode between Bethel and Ai. So just like I said again, it's just a place. Just go down there somewhere between Bethel and Ai, set up an ambush, and you'll be okay. It was nothing special. It was a point of reference. It's probably going to be a short lesson, but I'll give you what God gave me. In Joshua 8 and 12, it says, He took 500,000 men. There's stories behind all these things. If you want to read them, that's not what I'm after. But there's stories behind each one of these verses. It says in Joshua 8 and 12, He took about 5,000 men and set them to lie in ambush between Bethel and Ai on the west side of the city. If you notice the pattern here, nothing special. It's just a point of reference. It's just a place to them. It's nothing special to them. It's just a place. Joshua chapter 12, verse 7. And these are the kings of the country which Joshua and the children of Israel smote on the side of Jordan, the west of Baal-gad, Belgad in the valley of Lebanon, even to the mount of Halak that goeth up to Seir, which Joshua gave to the tribes of Israel for possession according to the division. This is right after they conquered. This is after they conquered the Canaanites, and they're dividing the land. Okay, you take here and you go there, and this is your property to live on. Okay, so that's what it is. And it says, in the mountains and the valleys and in the plains and the springs, in the wildernesses and in the south country, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. The king of Jericho, one. The king of Ai, which is beside Bethel, one. So there again, it's just a point of reference. You know where John lives? No, he lived down there beside of Bethel. It's just a thing it's nothing special to them. I'm trying to reiterate that. It's been said so many times we forget what it means. Joshua 16:1. The lot of the children of Joseph fell by Jordan, by Jericho, unto the water of Jericho on the east, and the wilderness that goeth up from Jericho throughout Mount Bethel, and goeth out from Bethel to Luz, and Luz is the original city name. The name was called Luz. When the Canaanites owned it, it was Luz. When they took it over, they changed it to Bethel. And goeth out from Bethel to Luz, and passeth along the borders of Archie and Ataroth in Joshua 18:13. And the border went over from thence to Luz, to the side of Luz, which is Bethel, southward, and the border descended to Atarodar, near the hill that lieth on the south side of the nether of Beth Horon. It was just a place. It was nothing special to these people. And there are more. I didn't read them all. There's 66 times it's mentioned. Only 3 or 4 times it means something special. But to them, I think sometimes we take God for granted. Sometimes we take His presence for granted. He doesn't always show up in the same way. And then sometimes we just take it for granted. Well, I'm going to go to church today, and God will meet me there. But, we should bring Him with us. He shouldn't be our destination. He should be our mode of travel. He should go with us. But sometimes we expect somebody else to bring God here, or God just to show up when we get here, come in and sit down, and He be here. God is no longer captive to a temple. Now He's in us. But sometimes it's almost like the newness of a car. You get used to it, and then you just take it for granted, blah, blah, blah. It's just an old car. I've had it for a year and a half, 2 years. God it should be more valuable. His presence should be more valuable than the purchase of a new car. It shouldn't be taken for granted while He'll just be there. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes, even here in the Scriptures, it's just Bethel. Go down there to Bethel, take a ride. It was just a point of reference. It was nothing special to them. He says, there's so many more that I don't want to bore you with them all, but the name of Bethel became just a point of reference. It was so far removed from why it was named that. But where does the name come from? Why is it significant, and why am I making such a big deal about it? This is what God showed me now. That was backstory. Long before Bethel belonged to the Israelites, it was called Bethel long before that. They didn't own it. It was not their land. They had to conquer it. It was something, but it was still called Luz. But then in their mind, that's Bethel. What does that mean? What does it mean? That's Bethel. If you look in Genesis chapter 12, long before Jacob was even born, his daddy's not even born. Long before that, back when Abram and Sarai lived in Ur, God spoke to him. He said, and now the Lord has said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make thee a great nation, I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and I curse him that curseth thee. And in thee all families be of the earth be blessed. So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. I said but it's Haran, sorry. When he left. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth and come into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land of the place of Shechem unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared to Abram, and he said, unto thy seed. Now, he's traveling with his family through a place he don't know. The thing about God was he didn't tell him where to go. He just said, get your stuff and go. And as he passes through this place, he says, I'm going to give you this land right here. He didn't have, Abram never got to see the promise. All he got was the promise. This is going to be your land one day. You read that in Hebrews, it said they all died not having received the promises. So Abram comes through, and he said, unto thy seed will I give this land. And there he built an altar of the Lord, who appeared unto him. But he removed from thence unto the mountain of the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Hai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord, and he called upon the name of the Lord. This is the first altar that Abraham built. He built it in a place where God spoke to him. God had promised him. And the altar was there as a memorial. We need memorials in our life. I mean, it don't have to be a physical memorial, but we need places we can go back to. I remember when God did this for me, God did that for me. Because there's going to be sometimes it's hard, and you're not always going to feel God's Spirit. Anybody ever not feel God's Spirit? Feel like you're driving just alone? It's not fun. But if you got those memorials, I remember when God said this. I remember when God said that. And I've not done anything to make him change his mind from here to there. If you have, you need to repent of it. But if it's all clear between you and him, what he said, he's still going to do. We need to have those memorials. Abraham never saw that land again as far as him possessing it. But he had an altar. He had a memorial that God had made him a promise. Many years later, Jacob has a dream. Jacob's his grandson. It was Abram, Isaac, and then Jacob. Jacob is a grown man now, and it says in Genesis chapter 28, long after that altar was built, it may have already fell down. I don't know if it was something that stayed up there, but anyway, long after Abram dedicated that land, Jacob comes along. It says, and Jacob went from Beersheba, and went towards Haran. And he lighted in a certain place and tarried there all night. And when the sun was set, he took stones of that place. Now, I want you to know something. He's not in a building. He's outside, under the stars. And he says he took rocks. He didn't even have a place to lay his head. He had rocks. Now, I like a soft pillow. I can't imagine laying my head on rocks. That would be tough. That'd be tough to sleep. And maybe that's why he dreamed like he did. I don't know. Couldn't rest good. I don't know. But he said he took the stones of the place and put them for his pillows and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed. Now notice he is dreaming outside, and that's important. And behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the ladder reached into heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. And of the land where thou liest I will give thee, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be in the dust of the earth. Thou shalt spread abroad from the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in thy seed shall all families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all the places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land, for I will not leave thee till I have done that which I have spoken to thee. And Jacob awakened out of his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid, and he said, how dreadful is this place? There is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. He said, this is the house of God. He's outside. There's no structure there. But he said, this is the house of God. And what he's talking about is God lives here. You know what? I'm not made out of stone. or wood, but God lives here. God, if God is your Savior, if He's in you, this is the house of God now. There's a song in there, even like songbook says, once again we come to the house of God. If you go to Faith and Victory camp meetings, they sing it, once again we come as the house of God. I like that. We come as the house of God. God don't live in this building. When He left yesterday from the wedding, He didn't stay here. He went with us. We are the house of God. He said, you know you're not, your body is the temple of God. Now I'm thankful that God now indwells us. No longer do we have to go to Him. He stays with us. That's a blessing to me. We have things that Abraham only wished he had. And Moses and all those, Daniel and all those guys, as Elijah and all those guys didn't have what we got. Sometimes we take it for granted. We just expect God to be there when we get up. We just expect God to go with us where we don't ever ask His blessing. We don't. It's just, I'm just saying maybe I should say me. Sometimes we just take it for granted. Well, I bet this year, this month, and this week makes 45 years. 45 years is a long time. And it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to take for granted. I mean, that's a long time. But I am thankful that He still lives in this old house. I give Him plenty of reasons to leave, but I'm thankful He's still here. And this structure is not like a building. It's not a place, because this structure, my body, goes all over. And to me, that's Bethel, because God spoke to me here. Bethel is the house of God. If you look up the Hebrew word, it's the house of God. It's not. There's nothing wrong with calling a structure Bethel. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying sometimes it's so easy to take for granted and saying, well, Bethel's on Gaddy Road, and Bethel's on this. Bethel, the true Bethel, should be here. We should be. And here's the thing about this too. If we heard from God, but we don't still hear from God occasionally, you might want to check up on that. Because now there's times, and I'm getting way ahead of my notes. I know that I talk to Him way more than He talks to me, because I talk to Him much. Sometimes He can't get a word in edgewise, so I won't be quiet. He won't interrupt me, But he should still be talking to us from time to time. And when His voice comes, it's not like any other voice. If you've never heard that, I pity you. It's pitiful, because I always cry when I hear His voice, and I always get cold chills. Maybe you react differently, but I can't ever, when He comes and speaks to me, it just thrills my soul. And that happened at work this week. I like that. A couple times in the last couple weeks that God just shows up, and man, I wasn't even looking for Him. I was working, and God just says, hey, I'm here. And He starts talking. And I love to hear His voice. His voice is different than anybody else. It says, and Jacob woke up, rose up early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put for a pillow, and he took the stone that he had used for a pillow and set it for a pillar. Now, it's not just a different way of saying it. He took it, and that was the building stone. He used it. He said, this is where I'm going to put out. He put oil on it, and he called the name of the place Bethel, but the name of the city was Luz at first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, now listen, Jacob here, they came from a paganistic society, multiple gods. We think about these guys just being born saved. No, he says, this is Jacob saying, listen, he vowed a vow saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. And he vowed a vow, and Jacob vowed a vow here. And he said, if this dream be true, then God will be my God. For the sake of time, I'm going to paraphrase what happens next to get you down to a certain verse, okay? So later, Jacob's running from his brother. He cheated him. He ripped his brother off, and he's having to run for his life. He hides over in a place and works for his father-in-law, Laban. Wasn't his father-in-law then, it was just a guy named Laban that became his father-in-law. Worked 14 years, and he says, while he was there God spoke to him again. God said, I am the God of Bethel, where you made that pillar and made that bow. Now get your stuff and come back to me. And he said he built an altar there. He went back to Bethel and he built an altar there. You can read the whole 35th chapter of Genesis about him coming there, but I want to cut to the heart of the matter. In verse 15, Genesis verse 15. This is the whole point of my lesson, what Bethel's about. Genesis 35 and 15 says, and Jacob called the name of the place where God spake with him, Bethel. It's a place where God spoke to him. There's nothing like it. If you've never had that, or if you want that, God wants to talk to you more than you want to talk to him. But sometimes he can't do that where there's sin, first of all. He can't do that where he's not wanted or where we don't have time for him. Or, so like I said, sometimes we just take it for granted that he's always going to be there. He's always going to be there. We need to make sure we don't take God for granted, because he is not just a accessory that we put on when we want to go to church. He is more than an accessory. In Hebrew, the word Bethel means the house of God. And then it also means just a place, but the house of God is where God dwells. He no longer lives in buildings. I am thankful that he doesn't live in a building that I got to go visit him. He can go with me. He can stay, well, he does. He can go with me, stay with me. Let me ask you a question. Has God ever spoken to you? Has he ever spoken to you? I didn't ask if you spoke to him. I didn't ask if you read. Didn't ask if you study. Didn't ask if you pray. Didn't ask if you go to church. Or didn't ask if you sing. Where I asked, has God ever spoken to you personally? There's nothing like it. It will change your life. You may backslide and go away, but you'll never forget when God spoke to you. And then if you do backslide and don't get it right, that'll always replay in your memory for the rest of your existence. It'll never go away. When God speaks, it's life-changing. Let me just give you some personal examples of how God spoke to me. And then you guys, if you want to, you can give examples where God spoke to you. But just a few examples where I can't give your experience or your testimony. But I can tell you that I know I've heard God's voice speak multiple times. Sometimes you hear him in a song. Like last Sunday, I felt impressed by God to come to the altar. That was definitely one way he spoke to me through that song. When Sister Dawn started singing, as soon as she started singing the very first notes, I knew that it was time to go. I like those feelings. But I've heard God. You may think I'm crazy. I think I've heard him audibly with my ears. I mean, it's been so real that I could almost say that I heard him audibly. Maybe I didn't, but it sure sounded like it. And I knew whenever he speaks to me, Brother Ken, I ain't got to ask him who you are. I know who it is. He's clear. I know that voice. Whenever I was struggling, looking for, I wanted more than I was getting from service. I needed more meat. And I was starving spiritually in a place. The only real meat that I got to eat, spiritually speaking, was me and Brother Glenn would stand outside and talk, and then he would give me these tapes from Emerson Wilson. And that would be like meat, some strong meat, something good. Bible says strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, who by reason of use have their senses exercised. I had got beyond David and Goliath, and there's nothing wrong with those things. But I needed meat. I needed something strong. And I just didn't feel like I was getting that where I was at. It's been many years ago. Many years ago. 25 to be exact. But anyway, I'm a fat guy. I don't go around, and I never go without my shirt. I always wear 2 shirts, so this is important. I don't go hunting. I don't go out and about. I don't go outside without my clothes. And I ain't been skinny in many years. So I was listening to Brother Emerson Wilson preach, and I've said this before, but he was preaching about the scattering and gathering of God's people. Preached that message 3 months before I was even born, but I had a cassette. And he kept preaching over and over again. He'd say, I'm going to divide between the fat kind and the lean kind. And fat kind is cows. I'm going to divide between the fat cows and the lean cows. He said, because the fat cows will eat anything, but the lean cows need strong truth. He preached that, and I listened to it over and over. I listened so many times I broke the tape. And so I listened to it. Then me and Mark, I had some chickens, and a coon was getting in my chickens every night about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not usually awake at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So I said, Mark, we're going to set up a trap. We had one rooster that was his favorite. He had done been in there 3 or 4 times. His head looked pitiful. He never could get him out of the cage, but he would keep coming back. So we took that rooster that we knew he liked, put him in a small cage up on a hill, got in my truck, and got my 22 out and a spotlight. And I said, well, and we knew about what time we got there. So we got there an hour early, so he didn't see us coming. I said, Mark, you got your thing loaded? He checked it, yeah. It wasn't 3 minutes, and that coon showed up. So we spotlighted him, shot him 8 times, buried him. Took care of the deal. Well, the thing was, I went to bed that night. Now, I don't remember my dreams most of the time. I don't remember my dreams. But I was in a dream, and in the dream, I was standing in the backyard with no shirt on, skinny as a rail, ribs sticking out, and that's not me. And I heard God's voice say through the dream, he said, because I was trying to decide what to do about, because I had ties where I was going to church. I had responsibilities, but I was starving. And God told me, you're the lean cow, get out or die. And when God spoke to me, I had no trouble. I said, okay, I understand what you mean, Lord, and I did. And God blessed me. I heard his voice say that. This wasn't just a dream, because I hadn't been asleep for 3 or 4 minutes, so it don't sound like it, and I don't remember a dream, but God spoke to me like he did Jacob through a dream. And then at work one day, he talked to me a lot at work, because most of the time I work by myself. And I was riding a tugger around that had a bunch of frames going from where Marlon worked at, taking finished frames to the upholstery back and forth. And I was just riding, and I was, probably shouldn't have been, but I was texting, trying to get somebody to talk to me at home. Regina, April, nobody talked to me. And I thought, nobody wants to talk to me. And as soon as I turned the curve from upholstery, God said, I want to talk to you. I had to get off the tugger and go to the corner and cry again, because God spoke to me. Honestly, I think I heard him audibly say that. I want to talk to you. Nothing sweeter than to hear God's voice. Another time, I have a place I like to go pray. It's called the Chapel of Rest. It's in Chapel of Hope. Where's Brother Mike, Pastor? Chapel of Hope, Chapel of Rest. Chapel of Rest. Right? I get the two mixed up. So I went to Chapel of Rest, and it's an old, just a structure, building, and it's an old 18th century church. And they don't use it anymore. It's just like a landmark. But it's always open, and they got a place that I go in there, and I'll pray, not because it's holy, but because it's quiet. It's my quiet place where I can get around, and I can talk, and I can walk, and I usually when I talk to God at prayer, I'm walking and talking with my eyes open, just talking to him just like I'm talking to you, because he understands English, and I understand his voice. But I was talking to him, and work was slow again. Furniture is always up and down. And it was Good Friday. It was off for Friday with pay because it was Good Friday. But 2019, I was walking through there, and I wasn't even thinking about, I had on my back of my mind, work slowing down. How am I going to pay the bills? I don't know what to do. But I left it alone. But I was just praying for John and Susie and Tim, and just my normal stuff, just praying for people. And God sang to me. There's nothing sweeter. I love to hear these people singing here. But when God sings to you, there's nothing like it. I'm sorry, you can't compare it to hearing God sing to you. And he sang to me, he said, you may not know how, you may not know when, but I'll do it again. And from that time forward, he gave me a business that made up the difference multiple times over from what I lost by not getting to work. God said, I'll take care of you. And I remember that. I remember the day. I remember where I was at. I remember I was in the middle of the building walking, and he sang to me. That was my Bethel, one of my Bethels. At the same place one time, I went there on a Wednesday evening, and I didn't come to church. I was so heavy laden, I was so broken and so tired physically, spiritually, mentally. If there's any way you could be tired, I was tired. And I just needed to get away and go talk to God. And I was sitting there. I remember I was sitting on the front pew, took my glasses off and put them on the back pew behind me. I don't know why I did that, but I did. And I took them off, and I was praying. I was just crying my heart out. And I remember God said, look up here. He said it plain. I picked my glasses up, and I looked around the pulpit, looked around the altar, looked around. Didn't see nothing. I thought, I don't see anything. What do you want me to see? And he said, no, look up here. And on the eve, or whatever you call it, they have a scripture. I came there because I was tired, and God said, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That's exactly what I need. I've seen it before, but God read it to me. God spoke to me. There's nothing like that type of experience. We need places that we can take the devil back to and say, devil, I know things are tough, but God said this. I know things are whatever, but I know what God said. If you don't have those type of experiences, I feel sorry for you. I can't give them to you. That's just between you and God. But Bethel is more than a destination or a location or a landmark. It's more than just a place to set your directions from. It's more than that. Bethel needs to be alive. Until God becomes alive in us, we're never going to have a true experience. I wish He would talk to me every day, but it may not be a special day. I don't know, but I know the days that He's done more than that too. I can't give all of them to you. But those are some examples when I know I felt God and I heard God speak to me directly, and there's nothing like it. I hope you guys have those for yourself. They'll carry you through the hard times whenever you got those type of experiences. That's all I've got. Has anybody got anything, any examples or any questions or comments or anything about that?
I've been over here like you. I've not been on my phone. I've been going through that, and what stood out to me the most. And I've read Genesis a lot, the book of Genesis, but this verse where it says, your text verses, and Jacob vowed a vow. Mm-hmm. Upon those rocks that you build, you have to make a commitment.
Yes.
And I remember the very first message that the Lord gave me, and it was scary, very scary. The Hebrew word hineni means here am I, or here I am, and it says, it's not, and I'll just read, I wrote this down many years ago, and it said, upon studying the word, Hineni is not expressing the place where the person physically is, but it implies complete presence. Yeah. Here I stand, unmovable, which means giving full attention to hear what God is saying and willing to fulfill the request or the task.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jacob said, if you'll walk with me, I'll walk with you. Mm-hmm. Unbeknownst to me, almost 10 years ago, I was at Ingles parking lot, and I was raised in church. But I backslid, and I went away, and I had a good husband. I had a good life. I had a good support group. I was not as far in sin as I had been, a few years before. Everything on the outside was looking up. But I was not fulfilled. I did not have Jesus. I did not have what made me my soul's desire. And I sat there in that parking lot and I said, Lord, I've come to you so many times in my life. Made a commitment, backslid, fell out with God, lost hope, many times, growing up and what give you, but that day I said, if you will walk with me, I'll walk with you. And that was a pretty good commitment because he's never stopped walking with me. He's never not, you know, and like you said, there's some days, there's some weeks, there's some months. Honestly, there was a year one time since I've been saved that I did not really feel, you know, the Lord as much as, you know, let me get my words straight, as much as I was used to. Let me say that, as much as I desired. But I still knew he was walking with me. Even in that time of loneliness when I couldn't, you know, quite figure it out, he still would give me those breadcrumbs. He would still let me know. And I had no idea that Jacob prayed, because I always kind of felt bad about that prayer, because it wasn't really I knew God gave it to me, but it wasn't a prayer of complete surrender, if you will, but it was. Does that make sense? I told the Lord, as long as you do your part, I'll do my part, you know. But it wasn't, it seemed like I was negotiating, but God, through that, he saw the commitment. He saw that I'm going to stand on this. Yeah. And when I feel like falling out, when I feel like it's not worth it, I hear the Lord come to me and say, I'm still walking with you. And you said you'd walk with me as long as I walked with you. It's a beautiful message. Thank you so much.
Examples, and one of them is, you know, when I was young and I wasn't in church, I didn't grow up around people that went to church. I did have this older fellow that took me to church when I was real young, and I remember, you know, eating those knockoff Oreos and dipping them in Kool-Aid, and you know, that was our little treat at Vacation Bible School. But you know, I remember as I was older and a teenager, I thought to myself, you know, that I'm fine. You know, I'm not killing people, or I'm not out stealing things. You know, I should be good. And at that time, I was doing a little bit of independent study, just kind of reading the Bible, and I didn't know what I was looking for or anything. And then sometimes I would be looking at specifics because of people talking. But it was, you know, God had showed me, He told me that it doesn't matter if you can count them on one hand. If you're not doing anything to work to get better, then you're no better than someone that has countless sins that, you know, if he's trying to knock them out one at a time, if he's got 5,000 and I'm just content in my 5 and I'm not trying to move up, then I'm worse shape than he is. Sure. And I was a teenager. And then for a little while, I lived that, you know, because I knew it was truth that God had told me. And then when I decided that I didn't want to move up any further, then, you know, I went this way, and God kept on going the same way He was going. And I left Him, but I know that was God speaking to me. He taught me that personally. And then, oh man, I forgot my other one. There was another one I had thought of.
Where's your stone?
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, that stayed with me for a long time. Maybe I'll come up with the other one in a little bit. Oh no, this is it. So when I was I went to Ohio for work, and I was in there in a hotel room by myself every evening, and there was a song, and it's like you said, you know, just came to mind, and I tried to practice the song to plan on singing it, and I couldn't get it out without crying.
If nothing else, we'll go ahead and get ready for the next service. Be praying for Brother Ken or whoever brings the message, and people who are singing, pray for that.